Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 93 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. This one was a doozy, so let's get started. We start with the Crown Keepers. Opal has just merged with Ted and the Spider Queen, Lolth, and is ready to start the next phase of this fight. The map is still out from last time. The Spider Queen tells Opal to finish the fight, or she will. Opal asks why she can't just keep her memories and let her friends go, and she can still be the Spider Queen's champion. The Spider Queen asks if she will be willing to do what is required of her if that is the case. Opal asks what that means, and Opal is shown Ruidus, and she sees something monstrous inside. She sees the gods are a prey for whatever this monster is. Opal asks Lolth if she is scared, and she makes an insight check of 17. The Spider Queen says the price has now doubled and she must kill 2 of her friends and the rest will be allowed to walk. Opal asks why her friends need to die. Lolth says that they won't let Opal leave, and if she can't see that, maybe she shouldn't be the Spider Queen's champion. Lolth says to send them away or bury them. Everyone then makes an intelligence saving throw. Only Furai and Opal save. The rest take 14 damage. They all see a world in which they save Opal, but it eventually shifts and it is filled with spider webs and the Spider Queen attacks them. Morgan is up. She moves up to the spiders and swings, hitting her first attack, dealing 7 damage. She then swings for a different spider in her range and misses. As a reaction for the miss, one of the spiders spits some sort of poisonous liquid at Morgan. It lands in her mouth, but she makes the save and spits it back at the spider. However, she still takes 15 damage. She does, however, keep her haste up. Morgan then swings again for the other spider and hits for 15 damage. Morgan feels conflicted about killing creatures that a god created, but the Matron of Ravens tells her that she shouldn't worry about killing these ones. She's technically not a friend or ally to the Spider Queen. The Matron explains Opal agreed to what is going on when she took the crown, and the Matron tells Morgan to run. This is not where she is meant to die. Dorian is up. He uses an item that he got, I don't know when, but it allows him to cast Chromatic Orb, and he throws it at the spider on top of his brother, hitting it, dealing 17 damage to the spider. However, the Thunder Wave goes off, and because he used it as a thunder damage, and it hits Cyrus for the exact same amount of damage. Dorian then flies up and goes over towards Cyrus. Dorian then makes a wisdom saving throw. He rolls a 9. He can't shake the image of the corrupted visions of his friends from the last episode. Furai is up. She tells the Wild Mother to let her help Opal, and she'll go aid the Wild Mother and protect her from whatever she is afraid of. Persuasion check of 20. The Wild Mother sends her an offer to commit to the Wild Mother completely. Furai doesn't answer and instead jumps across the gap using Step of the Wind and lands inside the darkness. Once she lands in the darkness, she then stops her movement and casts Fireball on the ground to hit everything around her. Opal, who would have been caught in the blast, casts Counterspell to stop it from happening. Furai then steps out into the darkness off to the side away from Opal. Furai then accepts the Wild Mother's offer. She feels something inside of her become sealed. Opal takes a legendary action. She casts Mass Suggestion on everyone. Saving throws from everybody. Morgan and Furai save. Dariax and Dorian fail. She tells them to just walk away and to go find Orym. The suggestion lasts 24 hours. It's now Ted's turn, who is inside of Opal and controls her body. Opal makes a strength saving throw and rolls a 1 with a -1, equaling 0. Ted moves Opal's body to Morgan, and she attacks her 3 times. She misses the first, hits the second, and crits the third. Ted deals 44 damage in this round. Con save from Morgan fails, and she is now poisoned. 2 con saves come from the 2 attacks for the haste, and she saves both of them, so she keeps haste up. Opal is now up. She attacks Morgan and casts Banishing Smite, or would have if she hit, but she missed. So now Dariax is up. He yells out to everyone that they have to leave and trust what Opal's plan is, whatever it may be. He then casts Mass Cure Wounds, healing 23 hit points to Dorian, Morgan, and himself. He then climbs down the little mountain he's on and then starts to leave. As he's leaving, he then inspires Furai, but he doesn't get very far because he's only got 25 movement. Wisdom save from Dariax. He rolls a 15, which is still a fail. He gets a quick flash of what Opal actually looks like instead of the Drider vision he's been seeing since last episode, before she quickly turns back into the Drider. The spiders are now up. One attacks Cyrus. Cyrus then suddenly stops screaming and goes limp. The other spiders attack Morrigan. One hits and one misses. She takes 14 damage from this. More spiders start moving towards Fury. One goes over to some of the gems on the ground and crushes them. Opal loses the memory of how she picked her name and the Opal Stone becoming her favorite stone. One then goes up to Fury and hits her. She takes 11 damage. A different spider crushes another stone, and Opal forgets her sister, Ted, which is so fucked up because Ted is literally inside her. At this moment, a giant spider appears on the battlefield. Orm hears, "Good, you're sending them away." This spider came as backup and was sent by the Spider Queen Lolth without breaking any rules of the Divine Gate. This is her favorite pet here, I guess. Cyrus is up, death saving throw. Robbie rolls it at disadvantage and he rolls a 2, so Cyrus has 1 death save, which is not good. Dorian can feel that Cyrus is dying. The Spider Queen then sits back in Opal's mind and watches what's happening. Opal says, "You need me more than I need you," and the Spider Queen leans forward. She says that she doesn't agree, and then she makes one of these spiders over top of Cyrus attack his body. Cyrus now has 3 death saves and is dead. The Spider Queen says, "At least they don't know that was because of you running your mouth." Morrigan is up. She feels Cyrus is dead. She then bunny hops over to the spider that killed Cyrus and attacks it, hitting both of her attacks, and she kills the spider. With her ace at action, she moves to the gems on the ground. She feels the missing pieces of Opal, but then she saves this piece. Morrigan then decides that she's going to leave the fight and listen to the Matron of Ravens. And she literally walks off the battlefield at this moment. Dorian is up. Wisdom saving throw, he fails. Saddened and angry by the death of his brother, he starts to fly away based on the suggestion that he got from Opal. And he starts leaving the battlefield towards Dariax. As he flies away, he casts Geos, I think that's how you say it. They were saying Gaius, but I'm pretty sure it's Geos, on the massive spider to take out its mother. The spider fails, which means if he doesn't kill the Spider Queen, he takes 5d10 damage every day for a year because the spell is at 7th level, which is insane. As Dorian leaves, the Spider Queen tells him that it could have been him, not Opal, in this position, and maybe his brother would still be alive. She's going to have to make Opal count. Dorian then leaves the battlefield completely at this point. Fury is up. She just saw Cyrus die. Dorian and Morrigan leave, and Dariax is currently in the process of leaving. She saw some sort of magic affect Dorian and Dariax. She then hears in her head from Opal. Opal tells her to do as much damage to her as she possibly can. Fury then runs up to Opal. She tries to grab the crown and then pull it off. Fury knows if she removes the crown, Opal will die. She grabs it anyway, and she asks Opal if she wants to go and protect the gods, and Fury will go with her if that's the case. Opal feels the crown dig deeper into her skull, touching her brain, and it also digs into Fury's hands. She's connected to Fury in this moment. She feels Fury is connected to the Wild Mother more than ever before. She feels like she can convince the Spider Queen to let this happen, where the alliance between these two continues. Opal says that she wants to go. Fury lets go of the crown. The Spider Queen then joins in on this conversation. She asks why Fury is still alive, and Opal says that she needs Fury. Fury says that she is devoted to her god and wants to protect them as well. The Spider Queen asks what Fury really wants, and Fury doesn't want to leave Opal alone. Fury knows that the gods are in danger, and she will be a protector of both Opal and the Wild Mother, which technically makes them allies. Persuasion check. She rolls rather poorly. However, the Spider Queen allows the conversation to continue as she takes a bit of blood, or 9 damage, from Fury and burns the parts of her hands that were grabbing the crown. The Spider Queen asks what the Wild Mother offered her and says that she can do better. Fury says that the Wild Mother offered her a way to protect Opal. Fury lost one sister already. She was not born to walk alone. Opal is now her new sister, and if Lolth takes her, Fury will go with her as well. Lolth asks if Furai knows what they're up against. She says that Ludinus doesn't know. He's a child. Furai doesn't care. She's not dying without a fight, and she will not walk away. Intimidation check. She rolls a 21. The Spider Queen is rattled by this. Furai is no longer looking at an immortal god, but in fact a woman who can die. She tells Opal that Furai can stay with them, and Opal doesn't really want this, but she knows that Furai won't actually leave. She asks the Spider Queen what she'll do to Furai, and Lolth says nothing. She has agreed to stay on her own. Furai says that she's sorry if Opal wants her to leave, but she's a protector, and she will stay. Opal wants to protect her friends and feels like she's aged 100 years since she started her adventure, and that she won't say no to having a sister. The Spider Queen says that it's settled and Furai will go with them. If they see the others, they are to keep them away. Opal says that she has nothing to lose, and Lolth says that that's actually not true. She's young and has the whole world to lose if they don't make it through this. But if they do make it through it, she will tell her more about where she came from. Opal says that if they do make it through it, she will call her a see you next Thursday. I'm not saying it because apparently that word just straight up is not good for a YouTube video, so I'm not saying it. If they do make it through, she will call her a see you next Thursday. This is where that conversation ends. However, Dariax is still in the area. He's still climbing down from the little hilltop he was on. He sees that Dorian is leaving, but he doesn't see Cyrus is with him. He says he's going to go get Cyrus. He then sees that Morgan is leaving in a different direction than Dorian and he is. He also sees the corpse of Cyrus. He sees Furai holding the crown, and he hears the words of Opal telling him to run, and he charges after Dorian. This is the end of the Crown Keepers. They started out light and ended very dark, as they go their separate ways for now. However, not everything is forever. Most are still standing, just scattered. Morgan leaves with the spirit of Cyrus sort of beside her, as she is the Matron of Ravens champion, I guess, or I guess like lesser champion. And that's the whole thing with the Matron of Ravens, like they carry the souls of the dead with them. So it seems that Cyrus is sort of with her for now. Furai and Opal are leaving with the Spider Queen, and Dariax and Dorian continue together 24 hours following Opal's suggestion, going towards Zephyra. They don't talk much after what happened and what they have lost. Dariax is focused on Dorian and how he's feeling. They eventually make it to Zephyra. Dorian asks how well Dariax knew Cyrus. Dariax and him bonded very quickly, as they both don't hold anything back. Dorian knew him his whole life, and now that he is gone, he has no idea what Cyrus would want him to do. Does that make him a bad person? Dariax says no, that makes him human. Dorian asks what Dariax wants to do, and Dariax doesn't know. Dorian says that he actually knows what he wants to do now. His heart is guiding him towards revenge. Revenge against the universe, to fight back against gods and monsters. Dorian gives Dariax his lute and says that they should make a song out of this question that's sort of been posed here. Dariax plays it a bit, and it's not bad. Dariax doesn't think he's in a place to fight gods and monsters, but he can help those who are. As they reach the outside of Zephyra, Dorian gives Dariax a cup and tells him to go make some coin at a tent with a bunch of drunk people nearby. As Dariax goes to the tent, Dorian watches him for a bit and then turns invisible. He leaves and goes to find Keyleth on his own. Dariax turns back after a bit to show how excited he is, and he sees that Dorian is gone. Dorian looks around for Keyleth, but he can't find her. He overhears some people say that she'll be back soon, and just then, he sees Keyleth step through a very old, gnarled tree. And even though he's invisible, she turns and nods to him. At this point, Abria leaves the table, and Matt returns to his seat. Thank you, Abria, and the rest of the Crown Keepers, for a compelling story. Keyleth tells Dorian that it's good to see him. For the record, it's just Matt and Robbie Damon at the table right now. Everyone else left. Keyleth tells Dorian that it's good to see him, and he drops his invisibility. She asks what brought him here, and he says that he was lost and looking for guidance. He lost his group and needs an anchor. He wants to continue what they started at the beginning of all this. She wishes her guidance could be ever present, but everyone is needed right now. She looks him over as if she's looking into his soul, and she asks him what happened. He says that his brother fell and asks if Keyleth could help him. He tells her where to find Cyrus's body and hopes that they can retrieve him. Keyleth says that he's been a good friend to Orym and to her, and that she will do that much for him. Dorian doesn't know where to go from here. Keyleth tells him that he can stay that there are warriors fighting a grand fight elsewhere, and that's where she's going to be heading off to. There are many people here who can help him find guidance, however. He asks if there's any armorers nearby. Keyleth asks if he truly doesn't know where he's going based on that question. He says he wants to see Orym and Fern again. Keyleth tells him that they are currently away, and she's very proud of what the two of them are doing. She knows that they are still alive up there. She'd feel it if they weren't. She says that she has to speak with some people before she continues on her journey and offers him lodging. He accepts, and she takes him to her place and tells him to ask for anything that he needs. For a brief moment, Dorian's anger leaves him. However, it returns very quickly. She tells him to follow her. This is the first time Dorian has spoken to Keyleth one-on-one. Normally, Orym is there. He gets a feeling of shared grief between the two of them. She takes him to the center of Zephrah. The city is very similar to his home, however, it's more stationary and doesn't move. She takes him to her place, and he is given a space to rest. Keyleth leaves and goes upstairs. He can barely hear a very serious conversation above between her and others. Suddenly, a clear voice creeps into his mind. It's Orym. We're home. Can you hear me? Northwest of Bassaris. Can you get there? I'm struggling. Can you get there? Fuck, I miss you. He recalls getting a message a few days ago as well, but it wasn't very clear, so he didn't respond to it. Dorian tries to think of what to say, but he can only think of 3 words. I'll be there. He then looks down at his hands and feels more awake than ever. Thinking about everything that's happened, Keyleth then knocks on his door. She tells him to stay as long as he'd like, and that she's about to leave. He asks what she'll be doing. She asks how much he knows about everything that's going on. He says he doesn't know much, only what they've heard via traveling. Keyleth tells him that the world is in great danger, and that the ley lines must have put fear in the furthest farmers' minds. It all comes from the Hellcatch Valley and the God Eater. Many armies are gathering to fight it. That is where Orym and the others are, to deal with the enemy on Ruidus. Dorian remembers Orym mentioning the moon in his message before, but he thought it was some sort of code. Keyleth tells him that Ruidus is a prison for the God Eater. Keyleth says that there is much happening. Where she walks, there is fire and loss. He doesn't fear loss anymore. She tells him to go with her. They step out, and they walk to a very big cherry blossom tree. She says they're going to save the world again, and she'd like to save a friend. He says, what's the point if there's no one to write a song about after all this? And she's happy to have him. She opens the tree up, and on the other side is a military encampment. They step through. He emerges from a leafless tree and is now in the Hellcatch Valley. He looks up and sees the red glow of Ruidus and the bloody bridge holding it in place. He sees hundreds of soldiers walking about, on patrol, talking and eating. He sees different flags of different colors and different designs. He recognizes some, but doesn't recognize others. He takes it all in. Just then, the gates of the encampment open up, and 7 figures walk in. He sees the Bell's Hells, but he doesn't recognize the 7th figure, and doesn't see FCG. The party all look up, and they see Dorian. The cast at this moment return to the table, minus Sam Riegel. The rest are still processing what happened on Ruidus when they look up to see Dorian next to Keyleth. Dorian says he heard that the party could use a humble bard, and Orym runs over and tackles him. Fern hops over and hugs him as well, and the rest of the party go over and are happy to see him. Fern asks how he got there. He says that Keyleth brought him. Orym asks how long they've been here, and Keyleth says they only just got here themselves. The winds of fate are very strange. Dorian says he'll tell his story later. Keyleth says that she's very glad they're back and alive. She's very proud of them and was very scared for them. Fern takes Keyleth's hand. Imogen says that they wouldn't be here without FCG, and Orym says that there was a great cost to what happened and what they learned. Dorian asked what happened to FCG, and the party explained that he sacrificed himself for them. Chetney says they wouldn't believe what it's like up there, new monsters, and the inside of the moon is crazy. At this point, the city see that there are a bunch of soldiers looking past them, not at them, and instead are looking at Eva Roa, the Barmoto, the new creature on Exandria. Dorian takes in what he sees as well, as he looks her over for the first time. Eva Roa has both a face of fear and wonder, and she's taking everything in as much as everyone else is taking her in. Keyleth tells everyone to be respectful and to stop gawking and to go back to their business. Dorian goes to give her some food. However, as Eva Roa puts her hand out, her Saita jumps out and takes the food instead. The Saitas are like my favorite thing ever, I think. The party introduced Eva Roa to Keyleth and what she did on Rudis. Eva Roa explains her position on Rudis and that she was a scientist working under Ludinus. Keyleth asks if there was any dangers following them from the Malleus Key, and the party feel confident that they are safe. The party tell Keyleth that the timetable is likely going to ramp up after they kick the Hornet's Nest. Keyleth says that she won't ask anything of them right now, they should rest first. The party asks about the other portal they found, and Keyleth says that only a few people have gone through it. It's very small, but they will definitely have some very powerful Asharis over there to make good use out of it. She takes the party to a large tent with a bunch of beds that have personal chests at the end of each. It's nice and cozy and very comfortable compared to the rest of Rudis that they've all been experiencing. Keyleth says that she's just so glad to see them all here, and she's very sorry. Orym says that she is a sight for sore eyes. She says that he is as well. Keyleth tells Orym that she had no doubt in her mind that he could pull this off. She tells them to rest well. She then turns around and transforms into a large hawk and flies off. Fern is a little jealous of her presentational skills. Ashton says that he is happy to see Dorian, and Dorian feels that he is very late to this party. The others tell him that if he was there, he likely would have died, so it's a good thing he showed up now. Dorian then explains what happened to him in the days before he met up with the party. The party are worried, and he says that he'll be alright. The party explain how they lost FCG and how close it was to them all dying, but because of FCG, they got out. The party feel down. They thought that they could take her, as did a lot of people, I think. Orym tells Dorian it was the woman who attacked and killed her husband a couple years ago. Chenny says Rudis is truly otherworldly. It's hard to wrap your head around it. Going up there made him feel very green again. Laudna shows Dorian the glass dancer she got from the Jagged Edge. They explain the glass to Dorian, but it's really foreign to him. They also name drop Predathos to him and explain that he is the God Eater. Dorian asks what their plan is, and the party really isn't sure. They just finished their only true plan, which was the recon. Most don't feel like they did a good job sneaking around, but Chenny disagrees as they got a lot out of this little mission they went on. Laudna starts showing off all the dead body parts and the jar creatures that she collected during their time on Rudis. Chenny says that it's good to see Dorian, it's good to laugh, but they will be going back for blood soon. Imogen asks Dorian if he'll be staying with them, and he says yes. Laudna asks if he's truly up for it. He says he is, and he's learned a bunch since they last saw each other. Fern asks, now that Cyrus is gone, what does that mean for him? Remember, Cyrus was meant to, become the next, king or ruler of the Sulcan Squall, and now technically Dorian would be. Dorian says that he asked Keyleth to get his body, and he isn't sure from there. Orym just realized that Cyrus just died yesterday and feels terribly sorry for him. Dorian knew there was evil in the world, but some of it is truly evil and unredeemable. Dorian says it was another failure on his part. Laudna says another opportunity to get revenge. Laudna asks about the others. Dorian says that Dariax is fine. Opal and Fury went off with the Spider Queen, and Morrigan left. Laudna says it's a small world. They met Denise, who was romantically involved with Dariax at some point, and Dorian recalls some of the stories about Dariax and her, and that he told him that he was frightened of her. Laudna hopes they find each other now, as they don't have anything else to do. As do I. I was hoping she'd show up, but she didn't. Fern asks if Opal is dead. Dorian says no, she's alive, only corrupted, and Fury is with her. They should be very concerned for them. Dorian asks how Chetney is doing, and he explains that he met an old flame as well, and now wants to settle the score before he bites it. He says he found a good place for it to end, which is kind of ominous, Chetney. Jesus. Orym tells Dorian about the different places and factions on Rudis. Ashton then goes and gets the party drinks. However, while he's out, he looks for Eva Roa. She went with Keyleth, and they are talking to each other in a tent. Ashton runs into the room and apologizes for what he said to Eva Roa. They don't trade people for people in hopes that she does good work here. Eva Roa accepts his apology and Ashton quickly leaves. He gets liquor for the rest and goes back. As they're all drinking, Dorian notices Ashton's new arm and how it's not like the rest of him, and they explain the whole Titan Shard business to him. Dorian asks if they are alright. They all say no, and they cheer to reunions with old friends, to not being alright, to letters, and to Cyrus. And this is where the episode ends. So there you have it, episode 93 of Camping 3 of Critical Role. I just went on a 13-minute rant trying to wrap up the how I feel about this episode, and that's going to be turned into another video altogether. So get ready for Tuesday for a long rant from me. Anyway, I do want to just say I enjoyed this episode. I did. You guys will hear about how I feel more in depth later. But I just want to say I'm very excited that Robbie Damon's back. I'm very excited that he is with the group. And I'm super excited to see what Sam does when he comes back. Hopefully he comes back. And yeah, I just want to say thanks to the Crown Keepers and Abria Iyengar. I thought the story that was told there was fantastic. And I think everything that happened and how the episode ended was great. The change between DMs, while a little bit rocky, was very much a nice breath of fresh air and a little bit of a reprieve from the seriousness and the roughness that was losing FCG. So I appreciate that. So overall, I thought I'm going to give this episode a rating, and it's going to be a 7 out of 10. While I think the, episodes 90, like 87 through like 91, to me were all like high 8s, high 9s. This is a 7, maybe even a 6.5. But overall, I very much enjoyed this. I like what the story was, and I like where all the characters ended up. So overall, very, very, very satisfying endings to a lot of these characters. And that's all I'm going to say. I will see you guys on Tuesday for the video that I just shot, and I didn't even realize I was shooting a different video. So yeah, till then, peace.